Coming at number 10 today, we have Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga's trouble with Madonna is so long and shady that she could probably ultimately take every point on this list today. After Gaga was deemed the second coming of Madonna, the dueling divas made fun of their alleged feud on Saturday Night Live. However, Madonna later dissed Lady Gaga in real life when Gaga's music is reductive in comparison to her own performing deliberate mashups of Born This Way and Express Yourself to seemingly highlight the similarities. Gaga would then tell a radio show in 2016 that she and Madonna were very different and that she wouldn't make that comparison at all, and she didn't mean to disrespect Madonna. Gaga would also go on to say, "But I play a lot of instruments, I write my own music, I spend hours and hours a day in the studio. I'm a producer, I'm a writer. What I do is different. I'm not just rehearsing over and over again to put on a show. There is spontaneity to my work. I allow myself to fall, I allow myself to break. I'm not afraid of my flaws. I just will not be compared to anyone anymore. I am who the F I am, and this is me." Number 9, Cher. In a 1991 interview, Cher discussed Madonna and her dislike towards the star, and it was pretty juicy as she made herself very loud and clear about her lackluster opinion of Madonna. When the interviewer asked the singer if she goes jogging like the Material Girl, Cher would respond by saying, "Do you mean my very best friend Madonna?" The interviewer then said that the question was made to drag Madonna into the conversation, and Cher responded by saying, "How about dragging her in by her hair?" The believed singer then continued to say, "In my day, I was pretty good at doing the same thing that she's doing, but she does it so much better. She's unbelievably creative because she's not talented, she's not beautiful, but she's rude. But I really don't have anything against her. I do respect that she goes further than anyone else should go." Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8, David Letterman. David Letterman has disliked Madonna ever since she sat down for an interview with him in 1994 for The Late Show with David Letterman. Madonna was obnoxious and crass during the interview that she would probably make the modern day Miley Cyrus blush, and her actions pretty much left David speechless. During the interview, Madonna went on to drop a handful of F-bombs that just seemed endless. She even proceeded to give David Letterman a pair of her underwear and then proceeded to try to get him to sniff them. Not to mention, when her segment ended, she just refused to leave the stage, while David proceeded to tell Madonna people didn't want to hear her swearing in their homes. When he tried to end the interview, Madonna would say, "Can't this go on?" And Letterman would fire back saying, "Feels like it already has." Madonna would then later claim that her disastrous appearance was her way of protesting against television censorship, but I don't think any of us really believe that. Number 7, we have Mariah Carey. Madonna definitely did some critical damage when she slammed Mariah in a 1996 interview, telling Spin that Mariah's music wasn't art and that if she had to sing Mariah's catalog, she would take her own life. Little did Madonna know that she would open herself a huge can of shade that would span on for decades, because no one ever served shade better than Mariah Carey. When MTV News asked Mariah about Madonna's comment in early 1996, she would shrug and say, "I haven't paid attention to Madonna since I was like in 7th or 8th grade when she used to be popular, so I didn't hear that." Later in an interview in 1998, Mariah would double down on her comments about Madonna after she was asked what she thought about Madonna and Mariah, and she said, "I haven't heard the new album. Growing up, I liked her first album a lot. That was really popular. Good for her." And then 7 times throughout the interview, Mariah would allegedly mock Madonna, not by her name, but using a faux British accent. Number 6, Elton John. Sir Elton John and Madonna's feud lasted more than a decade. Back in 2002, their feud began when Elton called her song Die Another Day the worst Bond tune ever. Then in 2003, he would slam Madonna's nomination for Best Live Act at the Q Awards, saying on stage, "Since when has lip syncing been live? Anyone who lip syncs in public on stage when you pay £75 to see them should be shot." This is when Madonna reportedly started to return Elton's Christmas cards, and she even rejected his invitation to perform at his bachelor party. In January 2012, John and his husband David Furnish would both end up slamming Madonna publicly when her song Masterpiece from WE beat out John's contributions to Romeo and Juliet at the Golden Globes. That July, he said on Australian TV, "Who is she? such a nightmare. Sorry, her career is over. Her tour has been a disaster and it couldn't happen to be a bigger B. And she looks like an effing fairground stripper. In 2016, Elton would even reveal on the Graham Norton show that he and Madonna did eventually bury their hatchet by saying, "I was in a restaurant in south of France a couple years ago when she walked in and I sent her a note saying, 'You'll probably never speak to me again, but I'm really sorry and ashamed of myself and can I buy you dinner?' She was very gracious and accepted and we talked. We're fine, it's just me and my big mouth." Number 5. Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson's beef with Madonna all started after Madonna attempted to date Michael Jackson in the early 90s. Jermaine Jackson wrote in his book, "You are not alone, Michael, through a brother's eyes." And he thought Madonna sincerely adored Michael, but it wasn't a mutual feeling. And she committed 2 cardinal sins. The first was she was hell-bent on loosening him up and getting him to see life through her eyes. The second mistake was when Michael went out for dinner with her one night. Madonna tried to criticize Janet, and Michael was furious and the two never went on a date again. In 1994, Janet would tell Vibe, "I never said hate. Hate is a strong word, but if I did hate Madonna, I'd have a valid reason." After that interview was published, Madonna told VJ Kurt Lauder that Janet dissed her and she didn't know why, and when she read it herself, she was like, "Okay, this sounds ominous. What did I do? I've never met the woman. I don't know anyone she knows. I'm mystified." Later, when Janet was asked about going head-to-head with Madonna, Janet would reply by saying, how do I put this? I think what I do has class to it. I'll say that. In 2012, it would then seem to be Madonna who was igniting the fire during the Super Bowl halftime show press tour. She would snidely address Jackson's nipplegate by saying, "You don't have to show nipples to be interesting. It doesn't necessarily mean you're cutting edge if you do, right?" Number 4. Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow and Madonna were best friends for years, but they reportedly had a falling out when Madonna divorced Guy Ritchie in 2008. Sources would start to claim that the ladies just had less and less in common, but then Gwyneth would hint that there was far more to the story. Gwyneth would reportedly tell Vogue, "I can be mean, I can cave into gossip, I can ice people out, and I can definitely harbor revenge. In fact, I'm having a situation right now with a friend where I'm feeling pretty angry, but revenge is corrosive and doesn't make me feel good." Gwyneth would then reference her longtime personal trainer, Tracy Anderson, by saying, "It's good that Anderson doesn't train Madonna anymore. It was too much. She keeps people waiting. It takes up your whole day." The source would then tell US Weekly that the beef started when Madonna mistreated Gwyneth, when they said Madonna would defecate on her over and over again after Gwyneth dropped her. Madonna feels Gwyneth abandoned her, and now Madonna will do pretty much anything to make her suffer. Number 3. Deadmau5. In fairness to Madonna, it seems like Deadmau5 has had beef with about every artist on the planet. However, that being said, when the DJ and producer took Madonna to task in 2012 for comments she made about substances in relation to Ultra Music Festival, when introducing DJ Avicii at the festival, Madonna would ask the crowd, "How many people in this crowd have seen Molly?" Deadmau5 was furious, tweeting, "Very classy there, Madonna. Such a great message for the young music lovers at Ultra. Cue the effing philanthropist. But hey, at least you're hip and trendy. Effing can't smack my head hard enough right now. I can appreciate her mediocre career and all good deed done. But what the F is that? That's your big contribution to EDM? That's your big message to Ultra attendees? Hipsters speak for looking for substances. F off, effing idiot, F." Madonna would never respond to his comments, but she did try to awkwardly hug him at the 2015 title launch. Number 2. Sandra Bernhard. In the early 90s, comedian Bernhard was one of Madonna's best pals. They even appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman together. Then, all of a sudden, something definitely changed. While neither Sandra nor Madonna have stated what actually happened between them, Sandra has been pretty vocal about her distaste for Madonna as a person. While Sandra does respect Madonna as an artist, she just finds Madonna in general just a little trashy. Sandra once told Dot429 that, "We were friends. We don't speak anymore. I have kept my friends my whole life, but Madonna feels differently." When addressing Madonna's younger boyfriend, Sandra would also say, "I'm not sure how involved she is with these young boys. She has 4 kids at home." At number 1 today, we have Arsenio Hall. When Madonna appeared on the Arsenio Hall show in 1990 to promote Dick Tracy, she made the comedian feel exceedingly uncomfortable by bringing up his ex-girlfriend, Paula Abdul, and Abdul's rumored new fling. blame John Stamos. She would even proceed to get on Hall's nerves by saying, "Are you jealous of John Stamos? I want to know how it feels to be dumped for John Stamos." She then offered Hall a gold ring before saying, "Because I feel bad for you." Paul laughed it off before adding, "For those of you who don't know, there was rumors that Paula Abdul and I were dating, and then I guess Paula showed up at the Grammys with John Stamos, and it was a full house. I couldn't go." Madonna then proceeded to go on by saying Paula wanted someone who was home more often. Hall then kept his cool, but lamented, "Wow, you're telling all my business?" Madonna would go on to defend her move by saying, "I know you were heading in the direction of getting into my intimate life, so I thought I'd turn it around." They would eventually change the subject, but the tension between the two would remain for the rest of the episode, and Madonna would proceed to call Hall's hairstyle tired and suggested he and best friend Eddie Murphy were more than friends. On the bright side of Hall, Entertainment Weekly reported it was the show's highest rated episode ever. And number 10, wardrobe malfunction at the VMAs. At the very first MTV Video Music Awards in 1984, Madonna's stiletto slipped right off her foot during her performance of her song Like a Virgin. Instead of trying to fix it and put it back on, she turned the incident into a horror show. The singer would flip up her dress, and although the malfunction was accidental, her management team was convinced that the bride's splashing of flesh would spark enough outrage to ensure she would never work again. While she was trying to smooth the move like dive for the shoe and make it look like it was choreographed, it definitely backfired when her dress malfunctioned and she had a slip up. While many people were concerned Madonna's career was over before she even started her career, she would continue on, and with it came some more red flags, and we couldn't ignore them. At number 9, Like a Prayer video. Madonna is no stranger when it comes to controversy, as over the course of her long career, she has frequently pushed boundaries just to stay afloat. One of the biggest scandals involving Madonna is when the singer released her video for her song Like a Prayer back in 1989. Now, Like a Prayer was initially designed to push people's buttons, as Madonna witnesses a crime happen to a white woman by a group of white men. A black man would later intervene to help the woman, but instead he would be arrested for the crime. While Madonna hides in a church, she debates about whether she should come forward as a witness. Later, a statue of a saint in the church resembling the man arrested would come to life, and Madonna would kiss the saint and would begin dancing with the gospel choir in a field of burning crosses before eventually going to the police station to declare the man's innocence. At the time of the music video's release, religious groups were not happy, and Pepsi, who Madonna was actually a spokeswoman for at the time, would drop her from their ads. Hey Peaches, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And number 8, the coffee table book. If you were in need of a coffee table book back in 1992, then Madonna's book was probably the excellent option for you. Madonna would work with fashion photographer Steven Meisel to produce a pretty controversial book filled with some pretty controversial photos that were shot in various locations such as the Chelsea Hotel. Retailing for around the time at $49.95, the spiral-bound 128-page book featuring Madonna's body and her views on intimacy would have the Vatican urging for its followers to boycott the book, and many bookstores would only put it on display behind the cash register and would only sell to customers who were the age of 18. Years later, her book has become a collector's item that has fetched hundreds of dollars on the resale market. Now, Madonna's book still remains one of the biggest pop culture statements, and it still comes off with a lot of controversy as people still want to know what was going through her head that led her to release it. At number 7, Justify My Love gets booted from MTV. If YouTube existed when Madonna released Justify My Love in 1990, the extremely NSFW music video would have gone viral in minutes, if not seconds. However, because Madonna chose to release such a controversial music video back in the 1990s, it would cause MTV to label the video as unfit for television. The video would then be released as the first ever single VHS format, and it would sell for just under $10. The video would soon become the most top-selling video of all time. The 5-minute video would feature a handful of fantasies and controversial themes, and when ABC Nightlife interviewed Madonna about the controversy, she said she knew the video didn't fit MTV guidelines, but she thought the executives would just bend the rules for her. And number 6, the 20-minute rant on the late night show with David Letterman. Before Madonna became who she is today, she had an iconic potty mouth appearance on the late night show with David Letterman back in 1994. The superstar wandered onto the set looking like a love child and greeted David by calling him the man who has his finger on the pulse of total strangers. Madonna would then go on to swear in the interview, and it would quickly turn inappropriate when Letterman would go yell, "Go kiss a guy" in the audience. It was clear that the two had some beef prior to the interview, and before the show, Madonna had actually gifted him a pair of her undergarments. And during the interview, she continually asked him to give them a sniff, which was pretty disturbing. The interview was extremely bizarre, and before leaving, she would casually turn to David and say, "Incidentally, you are a sick F." Madonna managed to make him feel really uncomfortable, and her 20-minute long rant was hardly PG at all. And number 5, kisses Britney and Christina at the VMAs. 19 years after Madonna's iconic performance of Like a Virgin at the VMAs, she would take the stage again in 2003, but this time there were 3 brides joining Madonna for a rendition of the track, Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. Both superstars were trying to break out of their teen idol boxes by proving how they weren't so innocent as they appeared. Madonna, on the other hand, would keep up her tradition of shocking everyone at the VMAs when she decided to help Britney and Christina break their innocent looks. Madonna would go on to give them both the kiss, but made sure to give Britney one steamy one. While Madonna and Britney's kiss received a lot of media attention that they no doubt hoped for, Christina and Madonna's kiss was completely ignored, mainly because when it took place on the cameras, they quickly cut to Justin Timberlake to capture his awkward reaction. Years later, Christina would say the whole thing was just weird. At 4, mounts herself on a cross. Madonna can't seem to get away from using religious imagery during her concerts and music videos, and you think because the star has received so much backlash over the years that she would just stop and leave it alone. During her Confessions tour in 2006, Madonna took her already criticized religious symbolism to the next level when she performed on a cross while singing live to Tell Additionally. As expected, Madonna's performance would draw huge backlash from religious leaders. Later, she would come out to try to apologize for her actions by saying, "My confession follows and takes place on a crucifix that I ultimately come down from. This is not a mocking of the church." However, this was definitely clear she was mocking the church because she continues to do controversial things to religious imagery, and it just isn't right. 3, kisses Drake at Coachella. Madonna clearly has a thing for making out with fellow performers on stage, even if that performer is not even half her age. When Madonna chose to live her best life and decided to make out with Drake during their Coachella performance, Drake did not appear happy about Madonna's prolonged smooch on stage, and his overall reaction to the kiss has gone down in our brains as such a hilarious moment. Drake would later head to his Instagram to clarify his reaction by saying, "Don't misinterpret my shock. I got to make out with Queen Madonna and I feel 100% about that forever. Thank you, Madonna." However, his sour face after the encounter says otherwise, and he definitely did not enjoy that kiss whatsoever. And number 2, makes headlines in Puerto Rico. On October 26, 1993, Madonna would soon make headlines after she performed in Puerto Rico and caused a huge stir among the people living there. While performing, Madonna would do the unthinkable, and she decided to take the Puerto Rican flag and rub it in between her legs in front of 26,000 fans. Soon after, protest and criticism against the star would start to rise due to her disrespectful behavior, and then the Puerto Rican House Representatives would then make the decision to charge Madonna with desecration of the flag and would pass a resolution to condemn her. I don't really know what was going through Madonna's head at the time for her even to think this was a good idea, but it was seriously disturbing. So how do you feel about this situation? And let me know in the comments below. And number 1 today, we have claimed she's the master. Madonna has proven to all of us that she's a pro when it comes to Photoshop. When Madonna took it upon herself to Photoshop herself into Beyonce's and Jay-Z's video to replace CR on the walls with her album cover, she would caption the photo at the time as "learning from the master," which pretty much said that Jay-Z and Beyonce were learning from her because she was the master. Now, she was definitely trying to poke fun about her 4 decades in the industry. However, when the post met some major controversy, Madonna would then have a change of heart, and then she would delete the word master and would just have learning lol. But she still got the message she was trying to say across. But I wouldn't exactly say Madonna was the master they were learning from, because it's more like she's learning from them at this point. At number 10, we have David Letterman. When Madonna appeared on the Late Night Show with David in 1994, the star was so obnoxious she showed that she had a lack of sensitivity for intelligence throughout the show. Madonna would go on to say the F word around 14 times. The star's language and overall behavior even resulted to the point where she had to be asked to even leave the stage. However, instead of leaving, she would then give David a pair of her undergarments, and then she would refuse to leave the stage. The star then would later claim that her disastrous behavior and appearance was a way of her protesting against television censorship. I can definitely understand why David was so uncomfortable with the situation, and I don't blame him for never wanting to work with the pop star again. At number 9, we have Mark Wahlberg. Madonna almost once cost Mark his breakthrough role. In the early 90s, Mark was just coming off of his rap career and he started to pursue a career in film. However, before getting his breakthrough role in the film Renaissance Man, Mark ran into some trouble when he got into an altercation with people who were very well connected to Madonna. When the altercation broke out, Mark noted that Madonna would go on to call the cops, and she continued to tell everybody stories about the event and what Mark was doing. Now, Mark claimed Madonna's claims were not true, and luckily Mark's film producer, Penny Marshall, would continue to support him. Mark explained when he got the call from the producer asking what he did, and how she ultimately decided to give him the role despite the rumors. I mean, sometimes it's better just to keep yourself out of other celebrities' feuds, but this pop icon is never shy to stick her nose into somewhere she shouldn't be sticking it. So it makes sense why Mark would want to stay as far away from Madonna as possible. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. At number 8, we have Elton John. In 2002, when Madonna released her song Die Another Day, it ultimately became the theme song for the James Bond movie. However, Elton John would later come out to say it was the worst theme song for a Bond movie, and that was just the beginning to their brawl, as this feud was destined to go on for years. Now, Elton would add fuel to the fire by criticizing Madonna for being nominated Best Live Act. Elton would go on to say that Madonna lip syncs in public shows, and anybody who doesn't perform live should just be punished. And Elton wouldn't stop there. He once took things further in an interview with Channel 7 Australia when he said Madonna's tour was a complete disaster, and that after he watched it, he even questioned the star's common sense. The stars would later end their feud, and Elton's partner would come out to say that they didn't believe in bringing negativity into the world, and that they were both embarrassed about everything they ever said about Madonna. At number 7, we have Lady Gaga. So the feud between Lady Gaga and Madonna started back in 2011 when Gaga released Born This Way. Now, Madonna immediately drew comparisons from her song Express Yourself. In an interview with ABC News, Madonna would go on to say that Gaga referenced her a lot in her work and she found it amusing and flattering. Lady Gaga, however, would come out to say, if you put the songs next to each other side by side, the only similarities are the chord progression. It's the same one that's been used in disco music for the last 50 years. The star then went on to say just because she's the first artist in 25 years to put it in the top 40 radio doesn't mean she's a plagiarist. Now, these two pop divas are definitely iconic in their own ways, but whose team are you on? Team Madonna or Team Lady Gaga? Personally, I'm more of a Lady Gaga fan myself. At number 6, we have Janet Jackson. Now, Janet and Madonna are both major celebrities that haven't always said nice things about each other. Janet's and Madonna's beef allegedly all started when Madonna attempted to date Janet's brother Michael in the early 90s. In the book You Are Not Alone, Michael, Through a Brother's Eye, Michael's brother wrote that he sincerely thought Madonna adored Michael. However, the feeling wasn't mutual. When out for dinner one night, Madonna made a terrible mistake when she decided to criticize Janet. Michael was ultimately left feeling furious and never went on another date with the pop star ever again. In 1994, Janet told Vibe that she could never hate Madonna, as hate is a strong word. However, the pop star dissed her and she was mystified by it, considering the two never met in person. The feud would then become a classic example that if you have nothing to say, don't say it at all, because you never know when someone's family family member might tell them what you said about them while you were enjoying a bite to eat. And number 5, we have Patti LuPone. After meeting Madonna, Patti was asked about what she thought about the movie the star was starring in. Patti then went on to describe Madonna as a movie bummer, as there's no lights behind her eyes when she's acting. Patti then went to say that Madonna can't act her way through a paper bag, before saying the pop star shouldn't be on stage or in a film. Now, Patti did say that the performer is amazing in her music career, however, she's not an actress. The actor then would shade Madonna years later after she said Madonna is Madonna, and I'll leave it at that. So it's not uncommon for actors to make a list of actors and performers they'll never want to work with or work with again. And if Patti really hated Madonna's performance as much as she said, you definitely won't see these two acting together anytime soon. At number 4, we have Mariah Carey. In 1996, Madonna would slam Mariah Carey, igniting a feud between the two stars. Madonna would say that Mariah's music wasn't art, and then later when MTV asked Mariah how she felt about Madonna's comment, the star would go on to say that she hasn't really paid attention to her since she was in 7th or 8th grade, when she used to be popular. Carey then noted that the star no longer was popular, and that's probably why she never heard anything about the star dissing her. During an interview in 1998, Mariah would double down on her comments when she was asked about her thoughts on Madonna, and she went on to say growing up she really liked her first album and said that the album was really popular. She then went on to say the pop star did good, however, several times throughout that interview, Mariah can be seen mocking Madonna by using a fake British accent. At number 3, we have Cher. Now, Cher and Madonna are two of the biggest names in pop music history, and although the two have such a great deal in common, they have a real love-hate relationship. In 1991, Cher was loud and clear about her opinion of Madonna while in an interview with CBS. Cher would highlight the star was straight up mean and rude, and that there was something she didn't like about her. The star said that she hung out with Madonna a couple of times and she was just rude to everybody, and the star acted like a spoiled brat all the time. Cher would also state that in an interview on a talk show Wogan that Madonna was unbelievably creative because she's not unbelievably talented. She also noted that the star was not beautiful and that she was rude. Although Cher has made it clear that she isn't fond of Madonna, she's also said that she does respect her as an artist. At number 2, we have Sandra Bernhard. In the early 90s, comedian Sandra and Madonna were actually best friends. They even appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman together. However, something would then later happen and the two would end their friendship. Now, Sandra and Madonna have never really opened up to what actually happened between them for their friendship to dissolve. However, that hasn't stopped Sandra from being vocal about her evolving distaste as a person. Sandra once said on .429 that the two used to be best friends but they no longer speak anymore. The star then went on to say that she keeps her friends her whole life, but Madonna doesn't feel the same way. However, it has been said that the reason Madonna and Sandra fell out is because Madonna stole Sandra's girlfriend from her and the star felt betrayed. Now, if that is the case, Madonna broke girl codes, and I can see why Sandra would dislike her former best friend. That type of betrayal is just next level. At number 1, we have Drake. So remember when Madonna kissed Drake at Coachella, leaving us feeling queasy and uncomfortable? And what added more heat to the fire is when the cameras caught him looking shocked with a disgusted look. Now, Drake's horrified reaction to Madonna making out with him on stage would cause a media storm of allegations. Now, Drake finally did come out to reveal he actually enjoyed kissing the star by saying, "Don't misinterpret my shock. I got to make out with the Queen Madonna and I feel 100 about that, and forever thank you, Madonna." TMZ would then later report that Drake's reaction was due to an unpleasant taste of Madonna's lipstick rather than the kiss itself. However, none of us really bought that. And if this was the case, I'm sure these celebrities would still be collabing together, but since this incident, they haven't. So it really makes you wonder how Drake truly feels about Madonna.
Number 10, Guy Ritchie. Film director and Madonna's second ex-husband, Guy Ritchie, is a prominent relationship that she had throughout her career. The two met in the late 90s and they hit it off right away. The pair had a child in August of 2000 and were married not long after. He even ended up directing the music video that was so scandalous it was banned from MTV and VH1. The violent video, What It Feels Like for a Girl, featured shots of Madonna driving recklessly, robbing a guy at an ATM, and squirting police officers with a water gun. But things did not end well for the couple as they ultimately got divorced in 2008, and soon as it was publicly confirmed, the British tabloids had a field day when it came to pointing fingers about what went wrong in their relationship. There were rumors of Madonna having an affair with baseball star Alex Rodriguez, and the couple fought over adopting their son, David, from Malawi in 2006. And after that, the pop star was thrown from a horse on her 47th birthday, and she broke several bones. Guy basically abandoned her. Number 9. Puerto Rico. In 1993, Madonna was set to arrive in San Juan for a concert as a part of her girly show tour, but certain groups on the island were worried about Madonna's influence over the youth and demanded that the concert be cancelled. Even the Puerto Rican government agreed that the singer was a bad influence on the kids, but the concert went ahead. For all the controversy, the tickets sold out instantly. But on the evening of the concert, several religious groups started protesting by singing hymns around the fans. So how did Madonna respond? Well, in a show of defiance, she rubbed the Puerto Rican flag on her crotch, further outraging the government and the protesters. This incident really played into her image because at the time, the more dangerous she was, the more people were interested in her. Everything she did had repercussions. Still, the whole incident was very scandalous, so her new biopic will probably touch on everything that went down in Puerto Rico. Number 8. Condemned by the Pope. Madonna's 1989 video for Like a Prayer, which featured her dancing in front of burning crosses and doing a bunch of other things that were thought of as too risky for its time. The song was initially used in a differently themed Pepsi ad starring Madonna, and she got $5 million for the planned endorsement deal. But after the video garnered controversy, including condemnation from the Vatican, Pepsi cancelled its contract with the singer. Religious groups called for boycott of the song, and even Pope John Paul II spoke out against it. Quote, "The video is blasphemy and insult because it shows immorals inside a church. This would mark the start of Madonna's lifelong fight with the Vatican and her complicated relationship with Catholicism, which was only just beginning." But the way she responded to all this is what made her a true icon. She actually walked the red carpet the next day in a bright red dress carrying a Coke can, and Pepsi still let her keep that initial $5 million that she was going to be paid for the commercial. There's probably so much that went on behind the scenes of this stunt that we really need to find out. Number 7. Michael Jackson. Seeing the two massive icons in pictures together seems like a fever dream sometimes. Jackson and Madonna were reportedly briefly an item in the early 90s, and the Queen of Pop once revealed that she had the best date ever with Jackson. The entertainment industry is really quick to assume relationships between the world's biggest stars when they are seen together, but Madonna actually confirmed the two were a real item in a 1991 interview. She asked him if he would like to be her date to the Oscars, and he accepted. She followed it up by saying, quote, "And then, yes, he took me home. You want to know what happened after that? I'm not gonna tell you." During a 2016 interview with James Corden on his carpool karaoke, Madonna revealed that she did enjoy a fling with Michael, but he was shy when they kissed, and she had to loosen him up with a glass of Chardonnay. But what happened during their tryst is something that she has avoided talking about for a really long time, so it's a very real possibility that she's finally ready to uncover exactly what happened between them. Number 6. Banned from the theater. This controversy is definitely one of the more recent ones that Madonna has been involved in, but it is nevertheless something that she might like to address in her biopic. She allegedly texted on her BlackBerry for the duration of a 2013 screening of 12 Years a Slave, resulting in her being banned from the Alamo Drafthouse theater chain. To make matters worse, when an audience member called her out on her behavior, she reportedly screamed, "It's for business," and called them an enslaver. Then in 2015, after she was caught texting from the front row of a performance of Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda personally banned Madonna from all future performances. Jonathan Groff, who played King George in the original run, spoke to Vulture about the incident. Quote, "That bee was on her phone. You couldn't miss it from the stage. It was a black void of the audience in front of us, and her face was there perfectly lit by the light of her iPhone through 3/4 of the show. You can't make this stuff up, it's just too bizarre." I mean, she's a queen, but she's always been really problematic. Number 5. David Letterman. All celebrities have had their moments on live television, and Madonna has quite a few herself, but this one really takes the cake and deserves a place in her new film. On The Late Show with David Letterman, Madonna made one of the most memorable appearances on a talk show that made television history for how scandalous it was. The pop star came out ready to shock the world, cigar in hand and filter completely gone. David Letterman isn't easily fazed, but in 1994, Madonna managed to make him just the slightest bit uncomfortable. A minute into her appearance on The Late Show, the host began teasing Madonna about her sex life, saying, quote, "Kiss a guy in the audience," and she responded by calling him a sick F. before launching into a 20-minute long rant that was hardly PG. In fact, she said the F word a total of 14 times. And yes, there was even a moment where she told Letterman to smell her underwear. It wasn't until 1996 that she revealed why she behaved that way. Quote, "The way he introduced me was derogatory. So my whole thing was like, okay, if that's how you want to play it, you cannot beat me at this game." Well, it's safe to say that she certainly did. Number 4, the infamous kiss. Anyone who didn't live under a rock knows where they were the night that Madonna shared her infamous onstage kiss with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, live at the 2003 VMAs. It was perhaps one of the most famous moments of controversy and Madonna's second major unscripted moment at the MTV VMAs. She performed like a virgin in front of a wedding chapel on stage, where she then kissed Britney Spears full on the mouth and then Christina Aguilera right after that. The camera then cuts to Justin Timberlake's stern expression, which is hilarious because he was dating Britney at the time. The double kiss made it one of Madonna's most notorious performances of all time, and it's clear that she's been pushing the envelope when it comes to displaying her sexuality. It's just another reason she's been able to maintain her icon status for so long. Interestingly enough, in an interview about the VMAs several years later, she actually said that she wouldn't kiss Britney again. So it begs the question, what really happened between the two of them? Number 3, Sean Penn. The violent nature of Madonna and Sean Penn's relationship was something that has mostly been speculation over the years. They first met on the set of Material Girl in 1985. Both of them had just gotten out of relationships and started off as friends. However, their platonic relationship quickly blossomed into a romantic one, and by August of 1985, the two tied the knot on Madonna's 27th birthday. Their relationship started off good, but things quickly got rocky due to Penn's unpredictable outbursts and temper. The actor was said to have a major jealous streak and would fly into fits of rage whenever he saw what looked like Madonna getting close to other men. Eventually, Madonna decided that she had had enough and she filed for divorce in December of 1987, later withdrawing the papers before filing again in January of 1989. It has been rumored that the singer suffered many years of verbal and physical violence from Penn, and that was the main reason for their divorce. But from what we know, it seems like the relationship was a traumatic one for Madonna, and the truth of it might need to be exposed in her biopic. Number 2, banned by MTV. The network just couldn't handle Madonna's Justify My Love music video, which included a racy group love scene with her then boyfriend Tony Ward and several other young men and women. But Madonna was not just talented on the microphone, she was also very business savvy, and since MTV banned the video, she went on to release it as a VHS single, which was the first song ever to be released in that format. She knew that people would pay to see something that was too scandalous for mainstream TV, and boy was she right. The video went platinum 4 times over and sold more than 1 million copies. But it wasn't just about making money for her. When asked about the video in an interview on Nightline, she said, quote, "If we're going to have censorship, let's not be hypocrites about it. Let's not have double standards. We already have these videos that display degradation to women and violence that are played 24 hours a day, but yet they don't want a video playing that deals with sex between 2 consenting adults?" That was so well said, it just goes to show you how ahead of her time she really was. And number 1, Tupac Shakur. Not many people know that Madonna and Tupac were in a secret romantic relationship. Yes, that's right, 2 of the biggest names in music history actually had a brief romance going on in the 90s. So we definitely do not think that this could be left out of the Madonna biopic. It all started when their paths crossed in the mid-90s and they were instantly drawn to each other. But the societal constraints of the time made it nearly impossible for them to break through the noise and explore their love for each other. The pop star had been famously tight-lipped about their romance and only confirmed it in March of 2015 that she and the rapper had been an item shortly before his death. But in July of 2017, a letter Tupac wrote to Madonna while at the Clinton Correctional Facility was put on auction and sold for more than $170,000. The letter dated all the way back to 1995 and delves into the factors behind their breakup and Tupac's innermost feelings about her. The whole thing reads like a Romeo and Juliet story in which star-crossed lovers have been torn apart due to political tensions, and not just as a result of their own decisions.
Coming in at number 10, she's not the best actor. Madonna has completely dominated the music industry, but sadly that doesn't always translate to the silver screen. She's been in 19 films throughout the course of her career, but not all of them were shiners. Starring in the 1996 film adaptation of the musical Evita earned the singer a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. But on the flip side, she's also won 9 Razzies. Razzies are the infamous antithesis of the Oscars for worst performances, and she won the dubious honor of Worst Actress of the Century in 2000. Rough play if you ask me. She's also turned down some pretty famous roles, including as one of the leading girls in Showgirls. While she's likely best known for acting and singing, she's also directed 2 feature films. One was in 2007 called Filth and Wisdom, the other in 2011 called W.E. Neither of these movies received the warmest of receptions from critics or audiences, and it was pretty universally panned as far as movies go. And at number 9, she suffers from brontophobia. Madonna reportedly has a massive phobia called brontophobia. Brontophobia is a fear of thunder and lightning. When she sees a storm coming, reportedly she closes all the blinds on windows and puts on giant headphones to drown out the sound of the thunder. At the end of the day, despite being one of the biggest pop stars the world has ever known, she's still very much human, with her own flaws and fears like the rest of us. Next up on the list is she dated John F. Kennedy Jr. While we all know of Madonna's infamous relationship over the years to people like Sean Penn, Vanilla Ice, Dennis Rodman, Lenny Kravitz, and Tupac, Madonna also dated the former president's son. Her disastrous marriage to Sean Penn is well recorded, and it's an open secret that it blew up due to accusations of infidelity, general chaos, and physical harm towards one another. Sean became known for his unpredictable outbursts and temper tantrums with a major jealous streak. He would often fly off the rails when he saw another man getting close to Madonna. That being said, following her messy divorce from Sean Penn, Madonna briefly dated John F. Kennedy Jr. for 6 months. In a memoir penned about the president's son that spends a bit of time delving into his romantic past, he's been linked to other celebrities like Darlie Hannah and Sarah Jessica Parker. But one of the least documented relationships he's been in was surprisingly with Madonna. Madonna was far from a big hit with the Kennedy family, with the pop star heavily leaning into the Marilyn Monroe imagery, can't imagine Jackie Kennedy being a big fan of that one, and the general disapproval of her religious iconography for fashion purposes. But the brief relationship absolutely did not last long, mostly because despite Madonna's recent past with Sean Penn, she actually found Kennedy to be much more frightening. Quote, whereas Sean would act out, perhaps give a photographer a body shot just to vent, somehow John's way seemed more personal. Madonna said that he would get up in her face, maybe an inch away, and scream at her at the top of his lungs when they were in a fight. I'm glad she left when she did. And at number 7, a bug was named after her. Listen, I know this one's out there and it's really not even a secret or something you try to hide. I just thought it was fun, so I'm putting it in. I wish the video was titled Top 10 Madonna Facts because this lady is interesting, alright? Sue me. But anyways, in 2006, scientists named a species of microscopic water-dwelling organisms, which is most commonly known as the water bear, after Madonna. The water bear's scientific name is, and bear with me, get it? Echinyscus madonnae. Don't quote me on that. It's also called a tardigrade, which is much easier. Although I'm sure it's because the researchers just loved Madonna's music, naming a bug after her is quite fitting, and I'd be proud to share a name with the water bear because it's basically invincible. Living for upwards of 120 years without food or water while withstanding harsh environmental conditions, these bugs are absolute tanks. For someone as resilient as Madonna, I'm sure she has some pride for her little bug, as both of them have managed to remain strong and consistent throughout their lives. Although it is weird that a water bug born on the same day as Madonna will outlive her by quite a few decades. Coming in at number 6, she kissed Drake at Coachella and it was so awkward. Okay, this one definitely isn't a secret considering how extensive the media coverage was, but I'm struggling here, so give me a break. At Coachella in 2015, Madonna appeared during a Drake performance where she danced around him while he was sitting in a chair. Then she went right up to him and basically stuck her tongue down his throat on stage for all to see. The shocked look on Drake's face afterwards definitely wasn't pleasant, and the non-consensuality of it all was definitely an extremely hot topic. Coming in at number 5, Madonna reminded Beyonce and Jay-Z that she is the master. Again, also not a secret because people ran with it, but Madonna has posted a Photoshop picture of Jay-Z and Beyonce gazing at photos of Madonna's album. She captioned it, quote, learning from the master. People were pissed that a white woman used the term master to show her superiority over two black individuals. In response, Madonna didn't delete the post, but she did edit the word master out of it so it just said learning instead. I guess that works too. Coming in at number 4, she didn't actually move to New York City with only $35. Okay, so this one may be a bit disputed, but there may not be tons of truth to the infamous up-and-coming Madonna story. The legend is that Madonna left her small rural town where she lived with her 5 other siblings and traveled to one of the most expensive cities in the world, New York. Apparently, she also only had $35 in her pocket and used that money to claw her way up to fame. It is a true rags to riches story about using pure willpower and drive to become one of the greatest stars of all time. But it may not even be true. In fact, Madonna's own brother disputes this story. He stated that, in fact, she had a few $100s in her pocket given to her by family to help her start out, and she had some connections and contracts underway to immediately start as a backup dancer once she landed in the city. While it's still an extremely impressive feat to go from pure normalcy with little money to just how big Madonna is, the story of her only having $35 may be a case of broken telephone, and people deliberately stretching the truth to make it seem even more impossible than it already was. Coming in at number 3, Madonna doesn't like being a material girl. One little known fact about Madonna is that she has remarked that she regrets ever recording the track that would become her moniker, Material Girl. It is one of her most famous songs and became the nickname that she is most often represented by. Similarly, she also doesn't feel like she wants to be associated with a song like a Virgin either. Quote, "I like them both because they were iconic and provocative at the time, but also they're so unlike me. I am not a materialistic person, and I certainly wasn't a virgin. And by the way, how can you be like a virgin? I like the play on words. I thought they were clever. They're so geeky, they're cool." She also said that she never expected Material Girl to become as big of a hit as it was. Quote, "I've never been a good judge of what things are going to be huge or not. I'm resourceful, and if I ended up in a log cabin in the middle of the forest, that would work too. These things are not mandatory for my happiness. That's what I meant by I'm not a materialistic person." Coming in at number 2, Madonna and Prince wanted to make a musical together. In a 1989 interview with Madonna, she was asked who her musical aspirations are, and she named Prince as a vocalist that she admired. She then discussed her collaboration called Love Song. Quote, "We've been friends for years and admire each other's work, so we'd always talked about getting together to write. And in fact, there was a moment last year where we were possibly going to write a musical together. I went to a studio in Minnesota and worked on some stuff just to get a feel of what it would be like to collaborate." She then stated that her and Prince had a lot of difficulty creating a completed track. After she worked with him consistently for a few days, she left the studio. She no longer had any interest in writing a musical with him. Then, a while later, Prince approached Madonna with a demo that she enjoyed, but they ended up having to write the full track together long distance because Prince lived in Minneapolis and Madonna hated Minneapolis. The track, Love Song, did not chart the Billboard Hot 100. And finally at number 1, Madonna regrets posing naked for her book. While this article was posted quite a few years ago when Madonna was 49 years old, and she's 63 now, Madonna has stated that she seriously regrets posing naked so often in her youth. In her 1992 book, Sex, she believes that the reception of it was less about the beauty of the female form and expressing sexuality, and more so about how people branded her as an exhibitionist. She admitted that, at one point, she was much less adventurous, branding herself as prude. Quote, "I really was not getting up to much. I don't think I was as naughty as I could have been. I was quite straight. I was a geek when I was young. I did not really do much that was interesting." I think from what I got from this interview, it was less about the actual posing naked that she regrets, but more so about the public's reception about the book. It branded her as loose rather than expressing beauty through art. 1970s. Taken from photos in her yearbook, it appears that Madonna went through high school with thinly plucked eyebrows and natural looking makeup. Her hair is also its natural color, which was a dirty blonde kind of brunette. In 1978, she took some acting headshots where she was again sporting minimal makeup yet with crimped hair. Her eyes have always been Bette Davis-esque, where they are striking and sharp. Then, as Madonna's fame starts to soar, her style begins pivoting from natural and relatively minimal to an edgier, more punky look. In 1979, she chopped her hair off and sported a slick pixie cut. Now living in Manhattan, she rocked heavy lipstick and artfully applied shadows to enunciate her eyes. Once we entered the 1980s, Madonna has become a mega superstar. She introduced the world to the Manhattan club scene. She released her self-titled debut album in this decade and began cultivating an edgy, fun aesthetic. She over-glamorized with poppy colors in her makeup and clothing. She was quintessential 80s. At this point, she also hasn't gotten any plastic surgery done because she's so young. I doubt she would really feel the need to, especially because of how naturally beautiful she is. She became known for her bright red lipstick and smoky eye, which is now considered a classic look in part due to Madonna's consistent use of it. In 1985, she also did the infamous Like a Virgin and would embody that role for quite some time. She became the soiled virgin during this era, a woman in a wedding dress with blood pouring out of her abdomen. Her looks during the 80s are more synonymous with how people view Madonna as a whole during her height. Her look was purely DIY and almost eclectic, with each individual accessory being a loud statement piece on its own. That being said, Madonna did have some cosmetic surgery during this time, but it was done to her teeth. She got a few crowns in her teeth and evened them out to seem more appealing. As we enter more into the 1990s and Madonna exits the youth and natural beauty she had been so accustomed to, we start to see much less of a fashion shift and much more of a physical form shift. She sticks to her bold lipstick and smoky eye and often chooses eclectic outfits over something more traditional. But we also start to notice lip fillers, and her face begins to shift in a way that seems like an attempt to fight the natural progress of age. In the late 90s too, it became apparent that Madonna started on a Botox regime to keep her cheeks full and prevent sagging. Although none of this is confirmed, it's hard not to see. When she smiles, there's very little expression lines as opposed to her younger self, who showcases her smile with lines on the sides of her lips. Her eyes also look more frozen and less expressive. As we enter into the 2000s, we see both a massive style shift and a physical form shift as well. Her style becomes much more classic. She begins wearing dark, sleek outfits and minimal makeup. It almost appears to be an ode to her younger self as she transitions into a more middle-aged woman and away from her youthful exuberance in the 80s fashion and club scene. In 2003 specifically, it also looks like she got her first facelift. This is different from the usual Botox in the sense that it's not really injections. Rather, Madonna would have had physically gotten her face lifted. The surgery is super painful and hard to do, but now Madonna's entire look has changed, with not a wrinkle on her forehead and wrinkles practically gone everywhere else. The widening of the temple to move back her hairline, coupled with wrinkling at the ears, point to a scar along her hairline. The public is starting to catch on now too, as now there's tons of tabloids about Madonna's face and how she looks so different from how she looked before. We see an eyelid surgery that got rid of the sagging on her eye folds and reduced puffiness under her eyes. Also during this time, we see the first non-subtle facial surgery. Her cheeks are noticeably much more pronounced in a way that only a cheek implant could produce. Her cheek hollows are also very pronounced. Because Madonna has always been extremely lean and muscular, it would make sense that she would attempt to get implants, seeing as those who have much leaner frames tend to age faster because there's less fat behind the skin, so it appears less full. As time goes on though, sadly her face becomes more and more full. It starts to change the features that people see most. Before, Madonna's eyes were the star of the show. Her eyes are stunning. But as the fillers and fat transplants become more common, we start to see that her cheeks and her skin become more and more attention-grabbing. It happens a lot with dermal fillers. If people continue to use dermal fillers, as they get older they just put more on top of the old fillers, and that can lead to a larger looking face. In the 2010s we see a lot more of the same stuff. Although she's aged 10 years, you barely see it as she continues with the dermals and the facelifts. That being said, considering she's in her 50s around this time, I think she looks really good. Obviously, and here's a little rant incoming, we need to take into account that it is a surgically enhanced look, and no person at this age should expect to look like this without modifying their body in some way. I don't really want to take the angle of shaming someone for getting surgery to enhance how they look, because we've all got insecurities, and I can't imagine being in a spotlight where the way you look is such a large aspect of your career and how you're perceived by millions of people. But at the same time, we also want to tell normal people that this look is not possible naturally. It is not genetics. Of course she looks great, but don't hate yourself if you don't look like her. Anyway, sorry about that, but I do feel like being transparent on this angle here is a bit necessary to continue the video as ethically as possible. Now, in 2019, we start to see Madonna's appearance make headlines again.
this time for her butt. Getting a Brazilian butt lift, Madonna is now sporting a much more voluptuous back end. Like I said, her natural figure is extremely lean and athletic, so it would be near impossible for her to attain a larger butt that is more popular these days. But Madonna definitely started to sport the stereotypical BBL look that we see on people like Kim Kardashian and Kylie Jenner. She's got very thin thighs and a perfectly rounded front figure in her thighs with no hip dips in sight. Almost every woman has natural hip dips, so it becomes really obvious when someone has a big butt and no dips, where the muscle in the thigh supports the butt. Madonna definitely went for a more trendy look this time, which honestly I think is closer to her brand. As the decades progress, we see her style become extremely trendy. She embodies each decade that she dominates with music. But as her music production slows, she continues to follow the trends of the decade, with a BBL kind of personifying this. And now in the current decade of the 2020s, we see a lot more fat transfers to her face from other parts of her body. Her face is getting a lot puffier, which I guess is a way to attain a fuller looking face, which is something she battles, as her genetics don't hold fat in a way that it would for other people who gain weight easier. It seems she also updated her cheek implants because her cheeks have become more pronounced than ever, but this time without the accompanying hollowness below her cheeks. With the combination of a fat transplant and cheek implants, her face looks extremely full and almost unnaturally youthful. She starts to look a bit otherworldly because after a certain point, and I mean she's in her 60s now, you can't really fight age and time. Her lips have also become a lot more exaggerated around this time, with a much more noticeable lip filler dominating her face. And now in early April 2022, Madonna posted a TikTok that shocked fans and viewers. The video's weird, it's just her getting close to the camera and then far away from the camera, but it's also weird in the way that her face looks insanely different. In my personal opinion, it looked like she took the video hot off the presses of the surgery table. Her face looks puffy, but in a swollen way, and likely we'll see her look much more normal as the swelling reduces in the future. Her eyes look almost completely closed and swollen, so it looks like she got more Botox on her forehead and cheeks, which would puff up the cheeks and make her eyes look really small. Jennifer Coolidge, one of my favorite actors and comedians, has this look as well due to consistent Botox and cheek implants. A lot of fans are a little sad about Madonna's constantly changing look. One person commented on the TikTok, quote, "I've loved Madonna since I was little. Huge fan, love her, but this is a hard pass. What has she done to herself?" I think it's a hard line to tread as someone gets older. I can't imagine how dissociative one must feel to continue shifting their face to seemingly desperately reverse aging. After some time, and we're starting to see it much more now, it just looks unnatural. She's already heavily photoshops her photos on social media, and I think it all obviously points to a very intense self-esteem issue. I just hope she finds the help she needs and maybe finds the courage to embrace her natural beauty a bit more.
At number 8, Mariah Carey. I can't say I will ever understand why people insist on putting others down. It doesn't help anyone out by being rude for no reason, and Madonna has been exposed for this on many occasions. Over the course of her career, we've seen Madonna say some rude things about other celebrities that are simply uncalled for, and though sometimes those celebrities don't respond to whatever hateful comment the singer made, others do, and they kind of expose Madonna for the rude things that she says and thinks about others. Back in 1996, Madonna was asked about what she thought of Mariah Carey, and what she said was far from nice. In the interview, the singer said that Mariah's music wasn't art, and she even went so far as to say if she had to perform Mariah's music, she would rather take her own life. Super harsh, right? Well, Mariah wasn't just going to let those hateful messages slide, and she clapped back in her own interview. When asked about the comments that Madonna had been making about her, Mariah said this.
I really haven't paid attention to Madonna since I was in like 7th or 8th grade when she used to be popular, so I didn't.
Mariah later doubled down on her clapback in 1998, commenting on Madonna's latest album at the time when she said, quote, "I haven't heard the new album. Growing up, I liked her first album a lot. That was really popular. Good for her." End quote. Though the extra clapbacks weren't necessarily called for, it kind of just showed fans that Madonna can be mean for no reason, and that's just not a cute quality to have. At number 7, Aaron and Sarah Foster. A lot of celebrities really love interacting with their fans. They're the ones who support their favorite celebrities the most, and without them, they wouldn't have the careers that they do. When fans approach a celebrity, a lot of times they're welcomed with open arms, so to speak, and get to have a nice interaction with them, but apparently not when it comes to Madonna. According to Aaron and Sarah Foster,
Foster, the daughters of music producer David Foster, Madonna was less than welcoming to her young fans. The sisters told sources about how they got to meet Madonna after school once and how the singer completely brushed them off. Erin told sources, quote, "I will never forget this. I tried to copy one of her outfits. I wore a blue satin button-up shirt because she wore that at one of the award shows. I tried to recreate the look so when she would see me she'd think, oh, you're really cool. She was not impressed. She was like, what are these kids doing here? She wanted nothing to do with us." Unquote. In a way, this was a warning to any other fan that if they tried to interact with the singer, they are likely going to be brushed off in the same way. Before we continue talking about the celebrities who aren't too fond of Madonna, why not take a quick moment to leave a like on this video to show your support for the channel, and also consider subscribing as well to see more videos like this one. At number 6, Gwyneth Paltrow. In yet another installment of Madonna vs. Everybody, we have yet another celebrity beef that seemingly exposed Madonna's toxic side. Gwyneth Paltrow and Madonna were once BFFs, but apparently after the singer divorced Guy Ritchie, they had a falling out and things got toxic. At first, no one really knew what happened between them, but later on, more information started to come out and fans started to piece together this toxic picture. In an interview with Vogue, Gwyneth shared some information with the publication that hinted to the toxicity between the actress and the singer when she said, quote, "I can be mean, I can cave into gossip, I can ice people out, and I can definitely harbor revenge. In fact, I'm having a situation right now with a friend where I'm feeling pretty angry, but revenge is corrosive, it doesn't make me feel good." End quote. Later on, she referenced Madonna and her personal trainer saying, quote, "It's good that Tracy Anderson doesn't train Madonna anymore. It was too much. She keeps people waiting, it takes up your whole day." End quote. More information came up as well when a source close to the actress told sources about what things were like between Madonna and Gwen, revealing that this falling out really started happening when Madonna started mistreating Gwen, saying, quote, "Madonna would on her over and over." End quote. Sounds like quite the toxic situation. At number 5, Prince. Even after his passing, fans have said that Madonna has disrespected Prince on multiple occasions, and that kind of warns fans as to what kind of person Madonna is behind the scenes. Let's talk about what started their feud first, and then we'll move on to the most recent incident that fans found unacceptable. Back in 1994, Madonna seemingly mocked the late Prince in an interview with the Los Angeles Times. She recalled the time when she and Prince were dining together, saying, quote, "I had dinner with Prince once and he was just sipping tea very daintily. I was stuffing food down my face and I was like, aren't you going to eat? And I thought, oh my god, I have this theory about people who don't eat. They annoy me. It's something about being in control." End quote. Fans thought that this comment was a little uncalled for, but not as uncalled for as when she called Prince a quote, "little troll" back in 1985 after they dated briefly. But by far the most offensive thing that fans have called Madonna out for in regards to Prince was her tribute to him at the Billboard Music Awards in 2016. A lot of people had a lot of negative things to say about her performance, but most of them couldn't get away from her drug-themed accessories, which included a purse that said dealer on it. Judging by the fact that substances is what led to Prince's death, that was pretty thoughtless. At number 4, Janet Jackson. If you really like someone, then you wouldn't want to talk badly about the people in said person's life, especially their family. But apparently, Madonna didn't really think of that when she bashed Janet Jackson while she was out and about with Michael Jackson. According to Jermaine Jackson, in his book, he wrote about Michael and Madonna and how Madonna spoke ill about the Jackson sister and how rude she was about it. Jermaine elaborated on this saying, quote, "I think Madonna sincerely adored Michael, but the feeling wasn't mutual and she committed 2 cardinal sins. The first was that she was hell-bent on loosening him up and getting him to see life through her eyes. The second mistake was when Michael went to dinner with her one night and Madonna had the temerity to criticize Janet. Michael was furious and not surprisingly they never went on another date." End quote. Like, what does that say about you if you criticize someone's sister like that? There was never any drama between them up until that moment, so no one really knows what provoked those comments from Madonna. Janet was clearly hurt but brushed it off, saying in an interview, quote, "I never said hate. Hate is a strong word, but if I did hate Madonna, I'd have valid reasons." End quote. On top of that, Madonna tried to pretend like she had no idea what Janet was talking about, which kind of makes things even more toxic. So yeah, in a way, we were warned about just how toxic Madonna can be. At number 3, David Letterman. It is an unspoken rule that when you're a guest on someone's show, you behave yourself. Not only because it's usually on live TV, but because it's just respectful to be kind and courteous of someone else's show and their job. But being the outspoken person that she is, Madonna threw all of that out the window when she was on David Letterman's show, and the host wasn't too thrilled about it. In 1994, Madonna made an appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman, and it went so far left that it circled right back around and kept going left, you know? While the singer was doing her guest appearance, she kept dropping F-bombs and making inappropriate remarks. She even gave Letterman a pair of her underwear and refused to leave the stage when her time was up. Her conduct was a little much and pretty uncalled for, but Madonna defended her actions, saying that her appearance was her way of protesting against censorship. While yes, she can do whatever she wants in protest, there's also a time and a place for that, and because she decided to pull this stunt on Letterman's show, she lost a lot of respect from the late night host, and he pretty much exposed her for her inappropriate behavior. At number 2, Michael Jackson. Now, we already talked about Janet Jackson and how her encounters with Madonna warned us about how rude she can be, but let's talk about how Michael Jackson also warned us about the same thing and how toxic and mildly controlling Madonna can be. Michael Jackson and Madonna briefly dated back in the day, but as you can imagine, it didn't really end well. The King of Pop referred to Madonna as, quote, not a nice person in a taped conversation with his spiritual advisor. He elaborated on why he felt like that, describing how controlling she was of their dates. Michael spoke out about it, saying, quote, Madonna laid the law down to me before we went out. She said, I'm not going to Disneyland, okay? That's out. I said, I didn't ask to go to Disneyland. She said, we're going to the restaurant. Afterwards, we're going to a strip bar. I said, I'm not going to a strip bar where they cross-dress. I'm not going there. If that's how it is, forget this whole thing. Afterwards, she wrote some mean comments about me in the press. I wrote that she was a nasty witch after I was so kind to her. End quote. In a way, this warned us about how Madonna treats people trying to control the situation, and when things don't go well, retaliating by saying mean things in the media. It's not a very mature way of handling things, and it's pretty toxic. And finally, at number 1, Arsenio Hall. Usually, when you strike a nerve with someone, the best thing you can do is just apologize and move on. Madonna, though, doesn't do that and instead lays into the comment she's made and just seems to make things worse. This is exactly what she did with Arsenio Hall while on his show, and it was both cringy to watch and also pretty mean. Madonna made an appearance on the show in 1990 and made a comment about Arsenio's ex Paula Abdul and her rumored rebound John Stamos. Madonna brought up the drama, but in a rude way. Arsenio laughed it off, but Madonna just kept going. She gave him a gold ring because she, quote, felt bad for him, and dug even deeper, saying that Paula left him because she, quote, wanted someone who was home more often. End quote. You could see how uncomfortable Arsenio was, and frankly, it was hard to watch. You can see the whole interview online, so if you want to watch the whole thing unfold, the internet is at your disposal, but it gives a really good idea of how rude Madonna can come across as being. In a way, this experience had Arsenio warning us about how Madonna can cross a line with her comments and how she will not take it back.